Hello, Duran Duran. My name's Will Hodgkinson. Pleased to meet you all.
Hi, Will.
Good to be here.
So, from us outsiders, it seemed like Duran Duran arrived fully formed with this jewel box full of hits and a wardrobe full of Anthony Price suits, but I imagine it wasn't quite like that. So, where did it start?
Well, it started with Nick and I.
And you went to school together, is that right?
Not quite.
Yeah. We lived very close to each
Okay.
other, and we had friends in common and music very much in common. We were big music fans. And so we sort of came together and went to concerts together and started plotting when we were, well, pretty young, 10, 12.
And what sort of things were you plotting? Did you have, you say you had similar musical tastes?
Well, the Anthony Price suits.
Yeah,
and,
they was
and
first
the box
on the
full of
roster.
hits, really. But,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we were very lucky to be growing up at an incredible time for music in the 70s. And I think the thing that influenced us more than anything else was the fact that we knew we wanted to do something different, do something to try and make some impact, and try and blend together all the things we liked, from rock music and disco and punk and electronic music too. Kraftwerk were very important.
We all got heavily into live music in the punk years, late 76, 77, and you know, going to see The Clash, The Damned, bands like that. But there definitely was a move. I mean, things started getting a little tired. There was a lot of bands all doing the same thing. And I started drifting towards disco music, sort of realizing in the back of my mind that I actually really liked this music that was coming out of America. And it was really when Nick and I met Roger that we started thinking maybe we could develop that side of ourselves.
Okay.
Up until that point, we'd used a rhythm unit. We were sort of like the Human League was like our model. And I thought, well, what if I start playing bass and we start creating like a rhythm section in the old school style, you know, because in punk rock, nobody ever thought about rhythm sections. Nobody ever used the term rhythm section with punk rock. It just wasn't. It was guitar-driven, guitar voice. It was all about
Three chords.
everybody hitting the same notes in unison,
Yeah.
bang, bang. And so that was really, you know, when the sound that you hear, the Duran Duran fully formed sound,
That's when it came.
started to form. Yeah.
So
Actually,
Roger,
yeah, I remember sitting in John's bedroom listening to records, and we put a punk record on, you know, Sex Pistols record, then we put a disco record on, and just kind of, the idea was to blend that sound, which, as John said, nobody was doing that. So we just, you know, we listened to these records and just learned off the records and tried to fuse all these different elements and
put it together.
come up with some different...
I mean, it developed very naturally.
Right.
We actually got Andy, the guitarist, from an ad we put into Melody Maker. And he joined, he came from Newcastle. And at the time, we sort of kidded him that we had a singer, which we didn't. And for days, he was saying, well, when's the singer going to turn up? And eventually, once he'd moved down to Birmingham, we had to say to him, well, actually we don't have one yet.
But you may as well hang around now. You've come all this way.
That was the theory. Which he did, to his credit. And then we found Simon through somebody who worked at the Rum Runner club. And she said, you really do need a singer, don't you? Well, my friend Simon is studying drama in Birmingham, and he sings, and he looks like he'd fit in with you guys. So we said, send him down.
So Simon, when you came on board, the story goes that you turn up in some pink leopard skin trousers and a book full of lyrics or poems. So had you been writing songs before?
Yeah, I'd written songs for a few years up until that point. Been in a couple of bands, and I came with some songs that were written, and I was very nervous when I met the guys, but I put on my best post-punk outfit and brought my book of lyrics. I think, the story is really kind of symbolic of what appealed to these guys about me, and that was mainly my look, which meant that I could fit in, and also the fact that I came bearing gifts, you know, in the form of words.
Yeah, and so that was always, it was, because you hear a lot of the times, your bands would say, yeah, we just got together, we were jamming, we're all mates, we did 12-bar blues. It doesn't sound like that's the situation here.
We were very single-minded. It's what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And half the problem was finding people that were committed. You know, people that didn't want to do a day job and just do a bit of singing in the evening or whatever. I think that was the difficult thing for the first year or so was finding people that were actually serious about
I
it.
really want to do this.
The other thing about punk bands, none of them had keyboard players. And that was primarily because A, keyboard players generally were real players, and B, owning keyboards was very cost prohibitive. They were very expensive compared with a cheap guitar. And, well, the Wasp keyboard was super important for us. I mean, I remember buying that, right? I mean, that was a big investment. But we got a lot of, it really changed the sound. Suddenly when we got this thing, it was quite easy to use, and suddenly it was like, wow, we hear this. And you hear that on all of our early songs. You hear that on songs like Planet Earth.
When was Planet Earth written? What was the situation? Was it, did you write it together in the studio? How did it come about?
We wrote it. We used to write everything a demo before we actually recorded in the studio. We were working in Birmingham at the Rum Runner club our managers owned, and they let us have a room there to write.
Tritech room.
Yes, the hideously titled Tritech Bar. We used to write there mostly, and it was quite exciting at the time because there was a lot of other acts going in different directions. UB40 were rehearsing next door to us sometimes, and Dexy's Midnight Runners. So it was
very different band.
Yeah,
very
different.
Yeah.
But there was a real sort of scene going on there, and we'd go into this room and shut ourselves in and just write and try and develop where we were going, and those are the sessions that Planet Earth came out of. I guess it would have been late '79, early 1980.
So now can we hear it? When was Late Bar written?
Late Bar, that was early. That was really early. I think that was that wasn't a song that was in existence before I came.
No way.
I think
No,
that was one of those.
Bar number. That was
Yeah, I mean, it had that real funk to it. You know, I joined the band, I think it was in May. That's when I first came along. And I remember we were kind of carrying on all night, and then suddenly someone said, right, we're playing a show on the 16th of August.
Yeah, 1st of July, actually.
It was the 16th or something. Must be
and
July.
we made the tickets. They printed the tickets already for the gig.
They printed tickets, and I thought,
But the set list was missing.
we
Exactly.
no,
Didn't have any songs.
we had
can't have
so
everything.
much work to do.
That makes things happen, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to. Oh my God, we've got a gig.
Yeah.
We better write some songs. We better tighten up.
I think the thing is, at the beginning, you're so keen to be heard, and you get in a room and you come out with a song, and you're not quite as precious about it as you become later in your career, when you analyse everything about it, and is that right, and should that be there? You just do it. And that was very much the spirit of Late Bar. It was written about the place that we were inhabiting at the time, the Rum Runner Club, and what was going on around us. And you don't have a wealth of experience to write about, so you just write about the thing that you just saw. And it was very exciting to just finish it, and that was the B-side of Planet Earth.
Yeah, because it's got a touch of it's got that kind of nightclub feel, but it's sort of down at heel nightclub feel, which is nice.
No, it is. It's things with legs are crawling through.
A little bit sleazy.
It's very sleazy.
There's a hole in the wall next to you. Things with legs are crawling through. They're madly searching for the door in your room. You're coming out, you're coming round. There's an all-night party in room 7609. If you got the time, lollipop, la 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 la. Bodies move like flies on the wall. You wanna run, but there's no space at all. Dancers spinning in the mirror ball. You're coming out, you're coming round. There's an all-night party in room 7609. La 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 la. And we can dance together all night if you got the time. La 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 la. To the Late Bar. It's all coming much faster than you think. What you gonna wear, man? What you gonna drink? Round and round and round. 'Cause I know what I'm talking about. 'Cause I know what I'm doing. There's an all-night party in room 7609. Lollipop, la 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 la. And we can dance together all night if you got the time. Lollipop, la 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 la.
Exclusive to Sky Arts, Durbar, the UK's premier festival of Indian classical music. classical music of a different rhythm. The Darbar Festival starts Thursday the 2nd of April at 6 on Sky Arts 2 and Sky Arts HD.
Right now, we know it's hard making the most of your savings. That's why at Halifax, we give you a tax-free savings rate of 3% guaranteed for a whole year. It's one less thing to worry about. A little extra help from Halifax.
Now you can dine in any night of the week with Sainsbury's great meals for two. Like chicken with sun-dried tomato and black olive for two. A tender green medley of vegetables for two. And delicious raspberry cheesecake for two. All for a £5.
Imagine a world where everything changes effortlessly. Make the world adjust to you. Vauxhall Mariva and Zafira. Discover Vauxhall.
At Vision Express, we can take a picture of the inside of your eyes using our digital retinal camera. And because we've invested in the latest technology, you can see what we see. It also means we can keep a photographic record of your eye health too. Pop into Vision Express today or book an eye test at visionexpress.com.
Quick, catch a bargain at the next 2-day sale. Absolutely all sale items, half price or even less. The next 2-day sale, now on.
Yes, sir. We can offer you buy 3, get 1 free on Pirelli tyres, which is pretty good, don't you think?
Because your loo won't smell fresh unless it's been freshly cleaned, there's new improved Harpic 3-in-1. As well as releasing cleaning agents with every flush, there's now 20% more fragrance, continually released for lasting freshness. New Harpic 3-in-1 helps leave your toilet squeaky clean.
I've been waiting for so long, now I finally found someone to stand by me. We saw the writing on the wall as we felt this magical fantasy. Listen, baby, I've had the time of my life, and I owe it all to you.
I've succeeded in business because I've employed people with dedication, motivation and persistence. When I met some apprentices recently, I was really impressed by their attitude. They're ambitious, they're doers, they make things happen, and it's easier to get an apprentice on board than you may think. Success is down to finding people like this, people that make businesses grow.
To find out how apprenticeships can make things happen for your business, visit our website. Our future, it's in our hands.
Now you can pay 0% interest for 4 years, and we'll pay you 5% cash back on the balance financed. Offer ends 2nd of April. Eligible new models only.
Every night at 8, Sky Arts 2 celebrates the greats. Great operas. Great music. Great performances.
Bit saucy, isn't it?
Every night, the greats at 8 on Sky Arts 2, Channel 257.
The Chauffeur is an absolutely fantastic song. When that was from, I believe, and I might have got it completely wrong, that you went on a kibbutz in your teenage years and you wrote the lyrics then?
Well, The Chauffeur started life as a very different kind of song. I was falling very deeply in love with this Israeli soldier girl. And I'd watched her. One day I saw her and a friend driving a tractor, just driving for fun across the desert, about a quarter of a mile away, with this big trail of dust behind them. And I don't know, that I kind of turned it into a little science fiction story in my head, and I thought, out on the tar plains, the glides are moving. And it became that song. And it was one of the 3 songs that I had, which I considered to be finished song when I got to the band. Of course, as soon as I played it, I mean, they loved the song, but then Nick really changed it into something incredible.
Presumably none of you studied classic songwriting, worked out, or did you? I mean,
No,
did you learn on the job?
No, we were all self-taught, but we did sort of study just about every rock song that you could ever hear. We were all pretty obsessive fans growing up. So we had a lot of musical knowledge to draw from like that, but not technical knowledge. When I first saw the lyric in Simon's book, it looked beautiful as a piece of poetry, a prose. And so we asked him, we all loved him. We were thinking about doing it on the first album, but somehow the pace of it and the energy that went into the first album, it got left aside. So when it came to doing the Rio album, we'd got a lot of really fast songs, and we'd already got Save a Prayer. And I personally really wanted to do something slightly more electronic and something that would be completely different to the other stuff on there.
Wasn't there a dropping ice into water to create a sound as well?
Yeah, well then there was no sampling. So really when you wanted to use any kind of natural sounds on the record, you had to do them live. I mean, the screaming on Hungry Like the Wolf, and the breathing, the ice, which is the glass on the Chauffeur, and even the talking on the end of the Chauffeur, which is from a Nature record. I was literally dropping the needle onto the record player at the point in the song where I thought, I think that's about right. And it was trial and error.
Glides are moving, all looking for a new place to drive. You sit beside me, so newly charming, sweating dewdrops glisten fresh in your side, and the sun drips down, bedding heavy behind the front of your dress, all shadowy lined. The droning engine throbs in time with your beating heart. Way down the lane away, living for another day. The aphids climb up in the drifting haze. Swim seagull in the sky towards that hollow western eye. My envied lady holds you fast in her gaze, and the sun drips down, bedding heavy behind the front of your dress, all shadowy lined. The droning engine throbs in time with your beating heart, and the sun drips down, bedding heavy behind the front of your dress, all shadowy lined. The droning engine throbs in time with your beating heart. And brooding lies, and I'll only watch you leave me further behind. And the time with your beating heart. And the sun drips down, bearing heavy behind the front of your dress, all shadowy like the droning engine throbs in time with your beating heart.
So Rio, Rio was the album, the song. When was this written?
Well, didn't it come from See Me Repeat?
No, it used to be a song called
Actually, yes.
A Me A Go Go.
Right.
That was
See Me
after.
Repeat
Yes,
Me.
exactly.
Yeah, and then we
Basics
kind of
of it.
we just held on to this chord progression.
Yeah.
It evolved, and I remember the final, what was the verse now, we did for the first time at the Holy City Zoo, and I think we wrote it as a show, as a set opener.
Exactly. I remember being in...
It was written like we need a
yeah.
dynamic thing that sort of says what we are, that you know, that I don't know how, but then we must have held on to it for a while because it didn't.
It did, because what happened was when we went in to make the second album, or when we were starting to think about it, you came up with the title Rio and said, I think this sort of says it all in a kind of Roxy Music, cool sort of way. And we went, yeah, it absolutely does. And we'd been to America, and it had a lot of references to America in it. And I'd seen this girl working as a waitress in a
cocktail bar.
She was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. And I just started writing on the back of a napkin about how she was, you know, and that's what turned into the verse.
And that's where it came from.
Yeah, but it was funny. You're right. It was a song that we'd hung on to and hung on to and hung on to. We knew there was something good about it. We also knew it wasn't right as it was, but often songs, that's what happens with them. You know, you've got to, you have to wait until the right thing comes along.
The intro is a fascinating sound, and that was created unusually. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what I was going to get for the intro at all. I for some reason, I don't know why, but I decided to get these big metal bars I'd found in the studio and throw them onto the strings of the grand piano and just see what sound it made. And it was sort of interesting, clattering and lots of overtones. But then I said, well, what happens if we reverse it? And when we actually reversed the sound, this incredible swelling noise built up and then just sort of peaked. And so we timed it and put it right to the front of the track. And it was one of those moments that just worked. But there were others that didn't work. But I very much always thought, trying those things, if you don't try, you don't know.
So what do? You throw all kinds of things into the mix? And then
no, we throw all kinds of things
onto the piano.
Onto the piano, okay. See what breaks it. See what it
It's quite an ambitious structure, that song, and I think it shows the confidence that we had at the time, because if you listen to it, I mean, it goes through, it shifts a lot of gears through the course of it. It's probably about 5.5 minutes long. So on the one hand, we're sort of trying to write pop songs, but we're not afraid to make something that is really stretched out, quite conceptual in a way. There's a lot going on, the sax solo that comes in. Then we go to the 4/4 Motown verse. I mean, things that you would never do today, you know.
It must be good to always be in the situation of learning as well. Trying, you know, say you've got a sense of a pop song. We know, okay, well, we know where we can put a verse and a chorus here, but then let's see where we can go now, and maybe we'll get it wrong.
Well, there's always something very exciting about musicians playing at the absolute limit of what they know at any given time. That, I think, always makes for exciting music. And then as you grow and you learn more, and then you start laying back and choosing, well, maybe I'll do that, then things get less exciting. But almost anything that you hear played by people that are all working together, you know, to the absolute maximum of their knowledge, even if that knowledge isn't very much, it'll always be exciting to listen to.
And also, I think because we learn from listening to records. I mean, I learned from just playing to records along with... I never had a teacher. In fact, I don't think any of us even had a teacher that taught us anything. So we had all this wealth of ideas that came off records. They're all in there somewhere, which kind of gives you this boundless direction.
There's something about the mysticism of songwriting that's very appealing to all of us, in that you don't know what you're going to find. You can search in all these places and pull something out of the air. It really is like a magic trick. And then when it all falls into place and you develop it and craft the song, there's something so gratifying about that.
Her name is Rio and she dances 'cause they're in a hurry, yeah. 118-24/7. Send them a text, it's directory heaven.
Want a kitchen extension, a pizza or pension, a plumber or sparks, or a place to see sharks?
118-24/7.
It's directory heaven.
From the award-winning writer of The Queen comes the incredible true story of the legend who changed the game.
Who do you think you are?
The Damned United.
Mr. Peters, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, good to see you.
Thank you very much.
How many more?
61,176 happy.
But 3 can make it so. Such a shame.
Last year, thousands came back to Norwich Union, and with savings of up to £140 on car insurance, this year there may be more. Get a happy quote.
When everyone's shouting about lowering prices, it's reassuring to know that on Monday, the independent price checker mysupermarket.co.uk compared thousands of branded products. They found that on average, Asda were cheaper on this many. Tesco? Well, judge for yourself. Asda, saving you money every day.
In Jersey, we have beaches so special we hide them twice a day. A new world to explore every low tide. Jersey, live the life.
Painful mouth ulcer? Try new Bonjela Once. Snap it to release the unique formula, then zap it. New Bonjela Once. Snap it, zap it to stop the pain.
Mouth ulcer? Send in Bonjela Cool. It helps stamp out germs, quickly soothes, and reduces swelling. Don't suffer. Send in Bonjela Cool.
We need to send an expert.
A walking, talking, know-it-all.
Expert. A guru. How about Woo? Woo will do.
Where to?
First stop, Peru.
Then send Woo to Kathmandu.
What's next?
Timbuktu.
And area code 212. So Timbuktu, Kathmandu, Peru, and 212?
All by 2:30.
Not a problem.
Need an expert? Push a button. That's the human network effect. Learn more at cisco.com/UK.
Morning guys, campaign launches today. It's on savings. We really need to help our customers. So you saving for anything particular then?
A rainy day, yeah.
Oh, you saving for a rainy day?
I'm looking to save for an engagement ring.
Right, okay, it's a pretty special thing then.
Unless she says no and then it will go on a sports car.
Very disappointed about the falling interest rates.
We sort of semi-retired a year ago.
Right.
So our savings are very important to us.
We don't want to put our capital at risk.
Absolutely.
Can I have a pig?
You can have a pig. That's...
We got loads of pounds at home.
They need to be in the bank, really.
Whatever you're saving for, we can help. Visit your local branch to find out more. NatWest. Helpful banking.
Every night at 8, Sky Arts 2 celebrates The Greats. Great operas. Great music. Great performances.
Bit saucy, isn't it?
Every night, The Greats at 8 on Sky Arts 2, Channel 257.
Skin Trade has got this line which interested me. In exploitation's name, we must be working for the skin trade.
I like the story of this song. It kind of came about in a funny sort of way. The music was kind of developing. We were working with Nile Rodgers. It was one of those slow funk things that was really great, but it didn't have any melody and it didn't have any words. And John had got this little, tiny little book, and it was by Dylan Thomas. It's called Adventures in the Skin Trade. I kind of thought that's a very cool title. And short of actually calling a song Adventures in the Skin Trade, it just became Skin Trade. And it's about kind of the way everybody's selling something, usually themselves. I mean, everybody does, whatever they're doing.
It sounded like it was being objectified, possibly, you know, that process.
Yes, I think there's definitely the elements of the hooker in all of us. And I just loved it as a kind of an exercise in talking about that and saying, it's okay, we're all for sale.
It was a eureka moment.
When
you came up with that.
Well,
because we've been sitting on the music for quite some time.
Months and
one of the
months.
things
We knew it was going to be called Skin Trade.
Even though we do work together a lot, 90% of what we do together. But then occasionally Nick will go off. He'll say, "Leave me alone for a few hours," you know.
And you'll come back with
or Simon will go off. And that was we left Simon. The pressure was on. Yeah. We had no idea what he was going to come up with. And getting to the studio one night and hearing the playback of that lyric was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I'd been sitting up. I mean, all we had literally was the title Skin Trade, and we were in New York at the time. We were working in there with Niall, and John had lent me and Yasmin his apartment up on the Upper West Side, near Columbus Avenue. It's great big, beautiful penthouse apartment with an amazing view, and I used to just sit there and just look at the planes lining up to come in to land at LaGuardia. And on a sunset evening, it was just the most beautiful thing. And I was sitting there one day, and I knew I had to get this thing done. And sometimes the best way to find something is not to look for it. It's like sometimes, well, you know, when you forget a word and you're trying to think, oh, what's his name? What's his name? That guy's name, what's his name? The more you try and put your finger on it, it's like a bar of soap, the more it slips out of your fingers. And you know, I'm sitting there and I've got the music on in the background. It's da, 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 da. And I start going, Doctors of the Revolution, da, 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 da. Yasmin, get the recorder. Hit the tape recorder. You know, because I felt I just knew this cheesy little kind of. It was a very playful kind of frivolous sort of melody started coming into my head, and words. What was more, words were coming with it, and I guess and it came really real quickly. And I had the. Do you remember? Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, the thing is with this song, John and I weren't letting go of it.
No.
Sometimes you find a piece of music that you've created the tracks already, and we can develop things a long way and then just throw them away. But this one, we were just clinging on to it. We said, we've got to get this.
Yeah.
We thought it was the best track on the album, and actually, I still think it's the strongest song on the album.
Too. Do you remember how the chorus used to go? When I first came in with it, the chorus went, would someone please explain?
That's right.
The reason Niall was going, oh, man. Could it just go, would someone please explain? I went, yeah, it could actually. It was a great contribution from him on that one.
It was the first song we wrote with, we were working with Steve. Roger had left, and so we had to bring in a new drummer, Steve Ferroni, who we'd met in New York, guy from Brighton, played in the Average White Band. And it's funny because still, like Roger was saying yesterday when he's playing the song, and we're trying to get a feel that Steve had done, and Roger, you said this is one of those traps that Steve Ferroni set for me. You know, it's like he knew that sooner or later Roger would be back.
He was going to come back.
And he'd be like, let's see him play this.
to making money, so she smiles, but that's cruel. If you knew what you think, if you knew what she was after. Sometimes she wonders, and she laughs in her frustration. Would someone please explain the reason for this strange behavior in exploitation's name? We must be working for the skin trade. Ow! Yeah. Doctors of the revolution gave us the medicine we desire. Besides being absolutely painless, Sometimes you wonder, and you ask yourself the question, would someone please explain the reason for this strange behavior in exploitation's name? We must be working for the skin trade. Would someone please explain the reason for this strange behavior in exploitation's name? We must be working for the skin trade. Ow! Exploitation's